What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I want to give you guys a quick Bitcoin update as we are trying to flip an important level of resistance to support. And this is a big deal because if we are able to do this successfully, it could give us the room to run up back to our macro value area high, coming in at around $29,000, and we could even pump a little bit above that. Now, we do still need to decisively hold this level as support, and right now we're approaching a strong level of resistance, so I want to go over all the key levels to the upside and the downside, and then take a look at that 200-week moving average and the indicators, because there are some things on the indicators that may be hinting that even if we do get a small move down over the next day or so, we may be able to continue this uptrend and again attack that higher end of the range at about 29K. But we have some work to do, so let's go over it all right now and let's get into it. So guys, here we are on the Bitcoin chart, and I want to start off on the weekly time frame, and I want to take a look at the 200-week moving average, as this is a very important level of support that we must hold in order to continue this big move to the upside. And if we're gonna see something like we saw in 2019, where we run up into that macro golden pocket and get that decent bear market rally, we're going to need to hold above that 200-week moving average. And right now we are basically flirting with it, and we really got to start closing some weekly candles above this. You could see we held it just barely a couple weeks ago, then we lost it last week, and now we are attempting to get back above it. Again, this is going to be a huge level to be watching. If we can close this weekly candle above, I think that would be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And you can see our VWAP on Market Cypher B is starting to curve back to the upside, so that would be a good sign for the bulls if we could print that green dot in the next week or two. And I was talking about this on my live stream last night. It is a little bit similar to kind of this move here. We got an explosive move to the upside. We came back down to test our previous level of resistance as support. We came up, tested that level, we slipped it a little bit, but then closed our candle above, printed our weekly green dot, and that's what gave us our next leg to the upside. So could we see something similar happen here, where we kind of slip the 200-week moving average, get back above it, hold it as support, and then we get our green dot on the weekly, and that maybe could be the thing that brings us to our next leg up. And my next target to the upside, if we do get that move, would be around $32,900 or about $33,000. And again, the key here is getting back above that 200-week moving average. Now, as you guys know, we have been looking at this macro range for what feels like forever, but the reason I bring this back up, guys, is because we have a very key level of support here. It is coming in at about $26,221. And the reason this is such an important level, guys, is because this is the value area low of our range. And you guys know I love the volume profiles because of how reliable they are when looking at sideways price action. But you can see here, we wound up losing this value area low, bearishly retesting, which is obviously a very bad sign. And as expected, we did get a decent move to the downside, but once we lost that level and turned it into resistance, it then becomes a very key level, because if we are able to work our way back up into that value area, flip it to support. Does this sound familiar to anybody? When you get back above that value area low and you flip it to support and you can hold it decisively, it could open up the door to potentially bring you back up to the highs of your range, which again are coming in between about $28,600 and $29,000, depending on what exchange you're looking at. But this is really important, guys. You can see this is like textbook volume profile. We broke back above the level, tested it as support, and we are now continuing up. And again, we always say, once you get back above, test it as support. If you're able to hold, that is where you open up the opportunity to come up to your range highs. And that is basically the next likely place for Bitcoin to go, other than the point of control, which brings me to our key level of resistance, because we are coming up to some very strong resistance. If you guys have been watching the channel, you will know we have been watching this falling wedge pattern that was forming on the higher time frames. It's actually a little bit more clear on the daily time frame. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this range to clean things up. As you guys can see here, we do have somewhat of a falling wedge happening, which is a bullish reversal pattern. So this does typically break up more than it breaks down, but we were talking about, as we were coming down to this level of support, which is the bottom of the falling wedge, we were talking about, hey, we might get a bounce here, and if we do get a bounce, we are likely to come up to the top of that falling wedge, and we may wind up seeing some resistance there. Now, the reason this is interesting, guys, is because if I go ahead and pull our range back up, you can see this level right here with the top of the falling wedge is actually almost in perfect confluence with the point of control of our macro value area. And not only that, but if we go ahead and pull our fib from this previous high up here at about $28,400 and we pull it all the way to the low, let me go ahead and make that a little more accurate, you can see that our golden pocket comes right in that area as well. So we do have a decent bit of confluence here, making this a pretty strong level of resistance. And this is a level that we've had marked out on our charts for quite some time, and we are now approaching it, and we are currently, if we come down to a lower time frame, you can see it a little better, we are starting to get a little bit of turbulence at this level. So guys, in the short term, I would not be surprised if we did see a little bit of a cool off on Bitcoin. However, the key level of support that we really want to hold is the macro value area low, coming in at about $26,222, give or take a couple of dollars depending on what exchange you're looking at. Even if we came all the way back down here, as long as we held this level as support, I do think that we will likely see a move back up towards that POC, and then if we could flip that POC to support, I think we can definitely see a move up to the range highs, and this would also be supported, guys, by our money flow on Market Cipher B, which, as you know, if you've been watching the live streams, we've been looking at the money flow on the medium time frames like the 4-hour, which have money flow coming back up into the green, and you guys know the money flow is a big reason why we've remained short throughout this whole downtrend and absolutely destroyed all of the short positions we took, and we were able to do that by listening to the money flow and letting it tell us where the market was likely to trend in the medium term, right? We knew the trend was going to continue to the downside because the money flow on the daily was crossing over into the red, and that's why we were able to short all these lower highs. However, you can see on our daily, our money flow is starting to come back up. We've been talking about this on the live stream a little bit last week and all of this week, but you can see money flow on the 16-hour coming back up. Your 10-hour money flow is coming back up as well. 8-hour coming back up. Bottom line, guys, the money flow is starting to shape up, coming back up to the green, and that could indicate that the trend is likely to continue here, which would add a little bit of assistance in that move to the highs of our range, and it could potentially give us that breakout of our falling wedge. But you'll also notice that our VWAP is working its way to the downside on a lot of these time frames. That's the 8-hour, 10-hour coming back down, 12-hour VWAP coming back down, looking for a red dot, and your 16-hour is likely to follow suit pretty soon. And the fact that this is happening at this beautiful confluence of resistance, again, I think in the short term, we may potentially see a little bit of a pullback to the downside, but because of the way money flow looks, I will simply look to long a higher low in anticipation of potentially coming back up to our range highs, as long as we hold our value area low as support, and as long as money flow continues coming to the upside. Another thing assisting a shorter term move to the downside would be the fact that we are printing our 4-hour red dot. We are coming up to key resistance. And if you come down to the lower time frames like the 15-minute, you can see money flow is coming out, and we know a lot of times when that money flow comes out on the 15, the 12-minute, and the lower time frames at the same time as getting that 4-hour red dot, sometimes that can give us a move to the downside. So guys, at this point, I am expecting somewhat of a small move to the downside, but again, I am continuing to look for long positions as we come down, just like we were looking to short all of these lower highs, and we wound up absolutely crushing all of these shorts. We are doing the absolute opposite. Now that we have this potential trend change happening, I will be looking to long higher lows rather than shorting the lower highs. Basically just using the completely inverted strategy that we were using on the way down, hoping that this trend continues to the upside, which again may be likely because of the way money flow is coming up on the higher time frames. So I think that's all the time I got for today's market update, guys. So again, I am looking for a shorter term move to the downside off that point of control at about $26,878. But again, as long as we are able to come down and hold above that value area low coming in at 26,222, I will be expecting this uptrend to continue, especially if that money flow keeps coming up. But hey, in the meantime, before we get that, why not make some money on those scalp shorts on the way down? So guys, that's all the time I got for this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully I gave you a little insight into the market. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candle.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand.